In today's episode, Maciej, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, asks, in your opinion, is it a viable strategy to start creating content and invest in SEO later? Well, all content inherently has some kind of search value, some kind of SEO value, right? Its very existence, as long as it's published on the web and is publicly accessible, will in some way be seen by the various search bots for the most part, and will be given some level of indexability and findability, whether it is for the things you want to be found for, whether it is highly competitive or not with other pages, are separate questions. But all content that's publicly accessible and visible on the web does have some inherent kind of search value. So the question is not necessarily whether you're going to create content first and invest in SEO later, so much as it is understanding the primary value and the purpose of a piece of content. If you put up a piece of content that is, say, intended for customer service, or is intended for lead conversion through non-search means, then you don't necessarily need to optimize that content in order to have it fulfill its purpose, right? You put it up and you direct traffic to it, and it does its thing. And in instances like that, then yes, it's perfectly fine to create the content first and then invest in SEO later, or potentially not at all if it's simply not a relevant thing to do for that piece of content. There are plenty of things that you can create on the web that you don't necessarily want search engines to find. There are things that you will intentionally no index. Now, if the purpose of the content is to attract organic search traffic, then yes, you have to optimize as you create it, right? You can't, it is not a viable strategy to create content and then optimize it later. You should be creating it in an optimized fashion to begin with, right? It should come out of the gate as good as it gets. Now, that said, even for the content that is not intended for search, organic search traffic is a nice bonus, as long as your search efforts don't materially change the content away from its intended purpose, right? If you're putting up a frequently asked questions post about, say, your product and services, and you optimize it to the point where the question is no longer written in a way that somebody would ask it, that somebody would naturally want to hear that language, then yeah, it's not serving its purpose at that point. So you don't want to over-optimize something to the point where it becomes unreadable. That's less of a concern these days than it used to be, say, 10 years ago, when people would create content that was so stilted just to optimize for all these keywords. Now that search engines like Google have the ability to do a lot better natural language processing, much more in-depth understanding of topics and semantics, you don't necessarily need to optimize quite so awkwardly in your language. Instead, you use the language that people would naturally search for, particularly when you're dealing with these little guys, right? These voice interfaces. When you're addressing them, the way that you ask questions to them is so different than the way you type it in on a keyboard, right? You might type in a keyboard, say, best restaurants near Boston, for example. Whereas when you're talking, just naturally you're going to say, hey, what are the best restaurants in Boston? And it's a very different query. So give that some thought. It does not hurt to optimize for the stuff that you're creating in general. The question is the level of optimization. For a customer service page where it's a frequently asked questions thing and you're not expecting to attract a ton of traffic to it, nor do you intend to, it's not the intended purpose, you could do a bit of light keyword research, maybe. Go take a look at some social media stuff, check out your customer service inbox, and just get a sense of what are the ways that people would ask that question. Like, how do I reboot my AirPods, for example? That is enough optimization. For pillar content where organic search traffic is the fully intended purpose, that's something where you want to invest much more heavily in the search. You're going to want to do a lot of keywords research, do some topic research, do language research, check out the competition, build an outline or a brief, and write out 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 words, and with graphics and videos and all this stuff, all the things that you would normally do for a piece of pillar content whose sole purpose or his primary purpose is to get search traffic to it. That's the one that you send to your PR team or your PR agency. Hey, pitch the heck out of this thing. We need eyeballs on it. So, is it a viable strategy to create content and invest in SEO later? In most situations, no. In most situations, you want to create with some level of optimization. Is it a viable strategy to create content and not, invest $100,000 in it? Yes, absolutely. Right? You can certainly create content that has a light amount of optimization that is just part of your workflow and is easy to do. That's the best way to tackle that. Optimization of content really is just about aligning it with user intent, right? So what do you want the user to do with a piece of content? So when you set your intended purpose, give some thought to that. When the user finds the customer service page, what do you want them to do? You want them to get the answer to their question. You want to solve their problem and give them a good customer experience. You do not want them calling your call center, right? You want them to self-serve. So design with that intent in mind. When you have a piece of pillar content, what do you want the user to do? You want them to fill out the form or buy the thing or pick up the phone or something. Again, design with that intent in mind. That level of optimization is probably more important than SEO itself, is designing the user experience to fulfill the user intent. And that, believe it or not, the way that Google works now, in particular, is of greater SEO benefit than sometimes the SEO optimization itself, because you're fulfilling the user intent and you're going to change a lot of the behavioral metrics that Google keeps an eye on. So really good question. If you have follow-up questions, leave them in the comments box below. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and the newsletter. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Want help solving your company's data, analytics, and digital marketing problems? Visit trustinsights.ai today and let us know how we can help you.